Come with me and we've got a very poorly Corsa D 1.2 XER. We have got one camshaft and a timing chain that is as slack as anything. So let's get involved. Now before we go getting too involved in it, the first thing we need to do is get the car in the air and get the oil out of it, because that sump needs to be removed, and now I can carry on with other stuff while it's draining. Now that we've made a lot of room for myself, I've removed the alternator, the air conditioning pump. A lot of people are going to say you don't need to, but I have, because it makes much more room for myself. Now we need to get this engine timed up. Now just to make things a little bit easier for myself, I've removed all the spark plugs. Get yourself a little bit of welding wire, put it down cylinder 1, turn the crank till it comes top dead centre. Then we do need some specialist tools. That is the crank pin, and it does locate straight down the bottom there, and it should just slide straight in. Now that we've got the crankshaft locked up, we need to lock the camshafts. And how you do it, you get your flat plate, and that should just slide straight into the camshaft like that. And you can probably see now that this chain is a little bit stretchery need, so what we're going to have to do is get a 23mm or a 22 on the camshaft now and just twist it just so that plate will slide into the cam. Now that we've got the engine fully locked up, we can remove this timing cover with all them E10s. Right, let's get it off. A little bit of a sidetrack here. Obviously this vehicle's had a water pump at some time in its life, but look at all that silicone. Where there's a gasket, you do not need to put silicone, so stop it. It looks awful. Obviously over the years you collect stuff. Now this is a timing chain cover for a Corsa. Now what I do, a little bit of a tip for you, keep it on one side, and whatever bolt you take out, use this as a template, and you're not messing about. Now that we've got the timing cover off, we need to just push the tensioner back like so, put a little pin in it, and then we can take the guides off and get this chain off. You can quite clearly see how far that chain has worn, because the tensioner is right out. Now we've got everything off, let's unbox all the goodies. And there we go, all the new timing chain kit, the guides, tensioners, crankshaft seal and a gasket, and most importantly, read the instructions. There you go. Now let's get these horrible worn camshafts out. 24mm on the camshaft pulley, and make sure that you hold it, otherwise you will snap the camshaft. Now that we've got the pulleys off, mark them up, inlet and exhaust, so you don't get them mixed up. Now let's get these camshafts out. We're going to do one at a time, and we're going to remove these E10s and pull them out gently. Just as a precaution, before we pull the camshafts out, we're just going to pull the crank pin out and just turn that crank now 90 degrees backwards, so we know the valves ain't going to touch the piston. Now before we put the new camshafts in, we just need to squash all the oil out of the hydraulic lifters, and I'm going to do it, there's many ways you can do it, but I like doing it in a vice. Now that we've got the lifters put back into the engine and the camshafts in, now you should technically put brand new rocker arms back in on them, but I have got a good set out of another engine. So we're going to get our oil now, give the camshaft a bit of a coating, and we can get these camshaft carrier caps back on, and also just look for wear, and they're perfect. Anyway, let's get them in and torqued up. Now we've got everything in place ready, let's jump onto auto data and get the camshaft carrier caps torqued down to 8 Nm. Now we've got to repeat the process to the inlet cam. Now before we put all the timing chain and stuff on, we need to remove the sump, and I'll show you why. Look at all that gunk in the bottom. Good state of that. That is horrendous. Anyway, we'll get this cleaned out and then we can put the chain on. Right, now let's get this timing chain on. We've got a new gasket between the timing cover and the engine, new guides, new chain, and a new tensioner as well. Now that we've got the new chain kit on, we've got the camshafts locked. Now you need to leave these camshafts loose, and you need to get that engine now back to top dead centre. Now if you see this rod, you will see it going up and down, but once that reaches its maximum lift, you can get your crank pin and then just slot it straight back in like that. Now that we've got everything put back on, we need to align all these camshaft pickup rings up, get yourself a proper timing tool, slot it in, and then once that's all tightened up, you can pull the pin out the tensioner and you can torque these camshaft pulleys up. Now that we've got all the timing sorted out, we can come back underneath and we can put the sump back on. Now it looks like brand new. Run a little bit of Loctite around it, and that is a fascia fit, so we can just get that torqued up. And there we go, that is the car now all back together. All we've got to do now is get on the key, and this is probably going to rattle pretty bad for the first few seconds, and it should quieten down. There we go, perfect. Well, that's a little bit of a disaster because I actually lost the last clip of that video, but anyway, it did fully got sent.